Okay, let's continue. So we were here, we were here. So we made a deal with the fire department. As the deal that we got already with the power authority, a power generation system. By deploying one ham into the main headquarters of the fire department that have no comms, the fire chief order and give permission to send our operators to any firehouse in the island. So instead of two, a team of two, on the minivans that we had 3, we deploy them, one in each possible that we can cover. And you know, firehouses, they have ladders. And they know how to use it. So now our operator doesn't have to go to put the antenna. That it's a safe haven. And they got food and protection from the fire officers who knows everybody in town. Did I mention that if you send an operator into a wolf pack, you have to be harvested and be ready to receive it? So they got orders directly from the, in this case, Lieutenant Figueroa, he's in second one in command, and they got the order, you, without no electricity, no message, Lieutenant Figueroa told us to be here, you're going to give me water, food, shelter, be runners on the community, and maybe a bed.
And install the antenna.
So what a deal. Now I'm sending one operator into a municipality that is going to be sheltered by people who knows everybody on town. And this is very important. You have to utilize those resources. You may use it, I mean, it's a tool. You're not forced to it, but it's a tool. By doing that, we were able to, the locals are in blue, these are chairs operators, and the red one, we were able to displace them, and then we have additional ones in the hospitals, and other ones to send back before I get fired for reunification purpose, inbound reunification purpose. So the experience that they went out with the Red Cross personnel for reunification, 5 names, 5 messages, 3 days of work. Because, oh, they're not here, they're in this address, go there. They're not here, they're in this shelter, they're not here. Oh, they're not here, they are in this school. So it took 3 days for 5 persons. Now we didn't abandon the inbound reunification, but that's a lot of effort to do one contact. Just to cover. Now, from the situation report from FEMA, this is the official FEMA map for 6 weeks. The green dots are us. All the other dots and triangles and square, this is the planning to reconstruct the communication system in Puerto Rico. Nothing working. The only ones in green was us for 6 weeks, ham radio. Nothing else. Or runners.
How many local operators did you have?
About 150. But did I mention that they were relieved from the job because my small business disappeared? So after 2, 3, and for sure 4 weeks, only I got about 10% of those 150, 15. Because they didn't have money to invest it back into as a volunteer. They have needs to take care at home, and they talk to me in the air. So whoever I was able to bring it back, I make them a volunteer at the Red Cross.
Yeah.
That would extend their life of operation. Also, if you need something for your family, most needed, and I mentioned this before, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 persons needing help for medicine, the Red Cross will provide it. They are expert on that. But if you have 20, 50 a shelter, that's provided by FEMA. So send the needs to the right table. We earn that very, very fast. So this is Keith Abley giving me a coin medal that I never knew that exists. I got 3 of those. So we developed an incident map, radio messages of citizen requests for emergency requests going from Red Cross, also the big numbers going to FEMA. And we did amateur radio communication support for the American Red Cross into their distribution center. That was important. The inventory and the orders were to take their goods was sent by WinLink on an email. WinLink. So you can read here a typical message when an operator deploy. And this is on September 30, if I can read correctly. And this way, you try not to make mistake on the message that you transfer. Because you get a text written by a person or a thumb drive and you send it. If you do it promptly and efficient to the right place, you're not liable anymore because you did it. It's out of your hand. Did you change something? No. This is clean with error correction. It's an email. Just become the server of the school or the ISP here or Sprint or AT&T. You just transfer the information. You don't deal with the information. And this is important. And be united. You deal to help the community. You have to help everybody. This is the Joint Field Operations Center. It is a convention center. And FEMA arrived there 500 people per day with big airplanes. Health Service, MPs, Corps of Engineers, you name it, everybody. Everyone, 7,000 people. Working in 4 ballrooms like this. And this is half the way, and these pictures are official from FEMA that I can utilize. You are prohibited to give or show pictures that is not permitted. You have to ask permission. That's the reason that you don't see these pictures around. And these get double packed within 2 weeks. And they were there for 70 days. And preparing food for 3.2 million people. And you know that that is an impossible task. Still, they changed the ready-to-eat rations to everybody, to more snack, and change the menu, because you're allowed to have like ready-to-eat meals for 2 weeks. Then you have to change. We also give technical support to the Red Cross from radios, then they come the beautiful GPS from Garmin, that they are GPS and text radio. So you can text message. So nobody knows how to use it. So the people on the station, they were training 5 of the guys of the Red Cross, and these 5, they trained 5 more, so we keep doing that until everybody learn how to use it. From this particular case, from the hospital support, for all their needs, we have to do a evacuation, and this is actually the note. This is one of the 3 pages. So after Dennis called the GFO for evacuating 5 patients, in less than 10 minutes, the 2 helicopter Black Hawk arrived, that they were going to another place with doctors, and pick up the 5 patients and took it to a new hospital because the hospital was running out of power. This is an example. And he documented it by filming out of his window this landing, taking the patient. And this is, and you can see the trees, right? I showed you that before.
And we're proud of that because the message was handled by amateur radio.
Yes,
Between the hospitals.
many. This is an example. I cannot come here and show you 20 of those because then this is not the presentation. I mean, this is one of those.
I don't know if you want to get to it, the P29
Go ahead. I think I know what you want to ask.
P25, yeah. I knew there was a number wrong there. P25 public service radios. The server's lost. The individual handsets can't be authenticated, so they takes them off the air.
Yeah, you need to authenticate the radio in every transmission by the server, right? This is common thing. What happens if you don't have internet?
You can go peer-to-peer, and there is a process for that, but none of the public service, very few of the public service people have ever been trained on it.
Like less than 1%.
So they're worthless, they're bricks. We have the same problem in amateur radio. We get lots of new hams who can't program their HTs. We set them up for particular frequencies. We don't teach them how to do it themselves. And if we're going to operate on different frequencies, they can't do it. So it's a wake-up call that we have to train.
On the ASCOM training that I got last May, I was trained that, and this is the Homeland Security Tactical Force in case of an emergency. Ham radio become now very important due to Maria and our experience and the good interrelationship with the Homeland Security and FEMA. Good networking, because we were working back to back. So they're training operators, but if there's a radio that you cannot program by the keypad, that's not your radio. That's wrong. You have to learn how to program it, or if the radio is too complex that doesn't allow you to do that, that's not the right radio. If you need a laptop to program it, you're in trouble.
Like Baofeng.
No, I'm sorry to say that. I can program Baofeng in 14652 without, on the keypad. But you have to get the training. You need an Elmer to train you a couple times to put it in.
We need that.
Yeah, Elmers, it's very important.
Now, we did Honolulu Marathon, and the Diamond Head repeater went down, and we had to switch. And I'm really embarrassed to say, a whole bunch of people you would think could do it said, the most common thing said that morning, I would have to go home and hook up to my computer so I can do it. It was embarrassing. And myself, I got saved. I was in the med tent, and Elmer took my radio, and he didn't really know it, but he was one of those people that can figure things out. He says, how hard can it be? And he did.
Yeah.
And he sat there and did it for 8 more people. I wasn't the only person who could not rapidly. We were on stage, and it went down, and we had to switch.
So we have to say thank you to the CHAIRS program from the Department of Homeland Security. This is our tactical force, and they work transmitting information from the Red Cross into the distribution center. Specifically, I have to say thank you because they took care of my son that it was in the farthest part of the island. They were on the other side of the island as well, so we were transmitting, not because my son, we were doing it to all the distribution center, but I was glad. They sent a very nice letter to me back how well he was doing on the other side. I showed my son, 10 months later, he almost fainted because I having eyes on him 90 miles away. So they were training also the HF and MBIS antennas into the military. They are not trained. They love to have the modern radios and digital radios and satellite, but you don't have the satellite, you are in trouble. So you have HF. And they did a great job. And these are also volunteers, like the ARES people, but they are from the Homeland Security. Okay? So we had no repeaters for about 3 weeks, and then we got about 3 repeaters for 6 weeks, and then after 6 weeks and 8 weeks, we got 13 on the air for about 6 months. Right now, most of them, they're back, and most of them, they were not back because the shelters were not there. The tower were not there. So these are things that you have to think about it and be aware. Then the Oaxaca Dam, I got a special operator. And as I told you, they were special forces. And this guy, I take the hat out of it because he's a retired special force, Master Sergeant. So he had special skills in top of it. So we sent it to the Oaxaca Dam, that the Oaxaca Dam, the spill was so much flow on it that it took away the concrete and start to erode the wall, and then it can collapse. And this lake, this will give water, tap water for 350,000 people. So this has become very important. And they were bombing with the Marine helicopters and the all kind of marine helicopters because there are two of them there, and I have. We took them. I have to tell the story to this guy. We took them chicken tacos, but I found out that he didn't like chicken. Then after he came back of the tour, and he now lives in Puerto Rico, everywhere that we go to a restaurant, he only get a menu of chicken that I provide. And he told me, Oscar, you know I'm Special Forces and you can disappear?
Oscar, coming back to the repeater thing, I just want to call attention to everybody here. Eric wrote a paper about 10 years ago on how to configure crossband repeaters, just with a couple of mobile, and he's agreed to rewrite it for us, and he's putting nice pictures on, and we will be distributing that. It's a substitute for repeaters get knocked out. We can put them in our truck, drive up on a high hill, and be able to provide communications for our neighbors.
And this is important support. So just to show, and I think I'm finishing here, you can imagine the Corps of Engineers trying to stop the damage of the dam. You can clearly see it over there, right? It's eating away the whole terrain and it's going to collapse. And these guys say, but they say, how we control the helicopter? They say, I know how I'm going to call them in the frequency. That's it. He knew you pay hard. It's nothing different or wrong. So also he was controlling the bombarding. He used this skill to destroy dams and bridges. And here he used the same skill for saving lives. He found out by putting a die here where was the weakest point. Because he put a die on the dam across the edge and the die stays there, and then suddenly where it was really bad, it's painted green. He also cured 78 people of dysentery. And then he moved forward and found out the tanks that they were poisoned. And he put iodine and neutralized it by measuring the pH. And again, I can go with all kind of stories. And these are special people with special skill because somehow we have special skill that we have developed during our lifetime. So you people, we are an asset.
So we want to license some of the veterans on amateur radio and get them into our group.
They're very mission oriented, you know, and they're very skilled. They bring something else to the table.
So by remember to have the incident map and the antenna. This is the type of NBIS antenna as you have seen in the movies that all the antennas are bended. This is an NBIS antenna. If I get a donor, I will put it on my Jeep. I have the bumper ready for it. So an NBIS antenna, instead of transmitting in DX into the ionosphere, go up and down. You can have a car and you can deploy this, 20 minutes? You know that you're going to say that less than 20 minutes. And you can go everywhere and deploy it and talk to the GFO or the DRO or the EOC or whatever you need to talk.
But it's HF, right?
It's HF.
It's HF.
But you don't need a repeater.
I know, but you have to have a different license.
No! I'm sorry.
Not in Part 97.
My Part 97 during the emergency, I was utilizing everybody who have the skills. And I went to Robert Muslim from headquarters of the FCC and said, you know, I want you to know the following. I have an operator at Monacillo Control who is a brain who assembled the whole story. He's a technician. I want you to know about it. He said, yeah. So what? He told me. This is an emergency, right? Yeah, but I want you to know. We're just clear. I'm going to be sure that when we finish, it's going to be a general, but if not, I'm going to kick. But at the moment, he's a technician. Don't don't limit yourself on things that you can provide the best help.
Well, then get us the right to practice on anything.
No, to practice you need a
You can. I'm sorry, you can. You go to his house or to anybody here in their house and work in the NBIS antenna, work with his station, and he's going to shadow you, and you can. You can.
chaperone.
Operators
Yeah.
a third party, legally,
Okay.
control operators standing next to you.
But even CV operators in a time of crisis have their place in the world.
Anybody.
Yeah.
You never know from where.
That was a bit of a reach, wasn't it?
Yeah.
CV works up here, I like it.
So if you want If you have terrain problems like, like I found here, volcanic ash. I have the same situation, calcium mountains. My antenna I have to put instead of 16 feet high, I need to put it about 8 to 10. But if you put a reflector on the bottom, 3 of them, 6 feet separated on 40 meters, you get 3 dB gain, and you will be able to have the maximum being up. And you control the terrain ground now. So you need to create an antenna that goes up here, and this covered area is going to be about 200 miles here and 200 miles there. You will cover all the islands. Having the best signal, you don't need a single repeater. It's important to practice. Do the practice. This practice, do it with the HF people. Practice in simplex. Don't hold yourself that you're a technician. By the end of the practice, with a couple months, probably you're going to go straight forward and make the general as well. Because you like it. And you understand that it works. So instead of having a very good DX antenna or bad DX antenna, you need a MBIS antenna that goes up. Take a picture of that. It's on the internet. This drawing. You can have for 80 meters, 60 feet per leg. For 60 meters, this is very important, 40 feet per leg. And for 40 meters, 32. And you can put down here the same in ground wave. Why 60 meter? Somebody knows here? There are 5 channels over there. You will be talking directly to the military, to the armed forces, to FEMA, to chairs on channel 1, voice, channel 2 data, or whatever they identify. If they tell you you're in the wrong channel, they're talking on those 5 channels that you need to learn, that the radios are already set up. You can talk directly to the Department of Defense. This is a shared frequency for ham radio and Department of Defense. Legal. Don't worry if you're a technician. If you're there, I love you, lady. Simple as that. I will defend you. At least me. So this is important to practice. Field day, on the weekend, people that you cannot talk to each other in HF, because you know already that you have the experience, make the MBIS antenna. It will work for that person and everybody else in the region. This is another way by using a SO239, the 2 elements or 3 in the center, then the ground on the screw. Kind of an inverted V, 16 feet. Did I mention that here was 16 feet mass? You can use a pole of paint, right? An extension. You can collapse it. Or if you want to go to the surplus store and buy 4 poles of fiberglass of 2 inches, and then it's smaller, and you can have it in small bag, the whole antenna all set up, ready to deploy.
Question. In one of our presentations, somebody here on the Big Island mentioned there's a surplus place here that sells fiberglass poles suitable for that 16-foot or better. Does anybody know that surplus? We did. No, here on the Big Island.
Yeah, there's one place in Hilo, but I don't know the name of it.
Yeah, I have seen poles in there.
Yeah, and they're very cheap.
Remember the name of the place?
Mamo Mart? It's just past where the open air market used to be, on the right.
Could you I'll find out for you, Glenn.
We would like to know. It's one of those things we wish we'd written down.
Okay.
And this and I bought about 60 feet of poles of that for $50.
By the way, you know the Army ones they use for the camouflage tent?
Yeah.
They're only 5 foot tall. I put a 20-foot piece of galvanized pole up, and I couldn't believe it. I put 5 more of those poles up there, and I did 1 side guy wire, but I did it an 80 meter off of that. And I thought it would be like all over the place. It's amazingly, I would not have thought you could stick 5 of them together and stick it up in the air like that.
It's called Hilo Surplus Store on Monroe Street. So just Google Hilo Surplus.
Okay.
Okay, just remember to put a ground here, okay? As a good practice. You will reduce the noise so that's it, guys.
Wow.
So a question for all the volunteers that you had show up, including the Force of 50 and stuff like that, was not speaking Spanish a problem for the
Yeah, the volunteers from the Force of 50, there were 2 that they were able to speak one fluently Spanish and the other one half of it. So, but that wasn't the limitation factor. And the locals, they speak Spanish and English. First of all, the locals who were on the air, even after most of them, they disappeared just because they didn't have more money. They are fluently bilingual. So, and they were accepted into the repeaters. The whole Latin American countries on the Central America, South America, they in 7.085 megahertz, they chase everybody away, completely chase away. We were protected because those channels were emergency channels. Everybody understood. We didn't never have an argument with anybody because there were enough people, and politely. And also some people during a contest, they realized that they were on our frequency, and somebody told them, they immediately, I apologize, I didn't realize. Okay, we're talking about serious business. No interference in 146.52. In the ham radio, for the very first time, people were so polite. In order, business order only, no track chewing. Can you imagine that? I'm talking about the emergency frequencies.
No jamming.
No jamming.
There was a heartwarming story. It got written up in the newspapers and that, it made national news, and that was on the HF frequencies. A situation happened where a lady was diabetes and was going into a shock, and they had to do something with it. They were able, on the HF, people were rag chewing, they were able to clear it, have 10 minutes of peace and quiet, and arrange for a private plane that was flying in, to bring family out, grabbed her and got her out. And they said to have the world go quiet in that situation is an amazing thing. They said it was not the only incident. Time after time, when people ask for priority, the airwaves just cleared off.
I tell you, I have all kind of stories that break my heart that I remember, and I cannot tell you because we're going to be here until tomorrow. But they are stories, and good stories.
We are going to be here till tomorrow.
Yeah. Thank you, guys. And the most important part, unite yourself, work together, bring new guys into the hobby. Your grandchild, your sons, new students, bring it into the hobby. We need new blood. And you have to be an armor. And we have to work together.